I am taking a chunk of 42,000-year-old swamp kauri from New Zealand and building it into an epic, we hope, guitar. I am hoping to route out the neck pocket. I'm hoping to actually carve the neck. I've left this process as long as possible because it is very soft wood. Multi laminations for strength and stability, and it is stable. It has been stable. So now we carve, and it remains stable. There are many, many stable things here. One of them, however, is not me. Burn it. Perfect! The template fits perfectly, but we've also got quite a lot of give in the kauri because it's so soft. So if I start going even smaller than I want when I route it in, everything should compress a little bit and we'll still have a perfect fit. Hello, my sweet. It's been a while. So we have the absolute precision. I drew that on right at the beginning and haven't gotten rid of that. One of the things you don't want to lose is your center line, actually. I watched the slow descent into literal utter madness of a luthier who was making I think it was a theorbo or something like that when I studied at West Dean College. And this is a multi-ribbed instrument. He was building it in the air without a mold, which is, I mean, that's self-flagellation of epic proportions. He lost his center line and he couldn't find his center line. And it was 2 or 3 weeks of him trying to get this instrument right. And I think that there's a level of precision that you don't need to actually work to, that he insisted on. He ended up throwing away 6 months of worth of work because he just could not get it right. Yeah. Dude needed to chill out. But also, don't lose your center line. Anyway, so I've still got my center line there. I've got it marked on this crimson template at the other end, and essentially everything is absolutely lined up and easy. So we're going to use the masking tape and superglue trick to put this in place, and it's sorted. Before that though, I do need to double check depths and maybe tidy up the back of this, come to think of it. Okay, so here is the instrument that we are basing all of this on. Remember, I'm taking the electronics out of this because that's the cool bit that Fender put all the work into. Yeah, the rest of it's fine, and it was moderately successful as an instrument. They don't seem to be able to put their foot wrong nowadays. Give me examples of Fender messing up in the comments, please. I need it for my own self-edification. The neck itself is fairly high up, and I'm going to take some measurements and make sure that we get this right, because while I am building a bridge, the break angle, the amount of tension involved, etc., is all quite important. Okay, so this is the thing that's, we're sitting a little bit higher up, basically 3 millimeters up off the body than I would normally expect, and a relatively thin fretboard, which we have matched. So yeah, let's make that happen. Okay, so here is what we're sort of going for. The Fender neck is actually 20 millimeters. I did make this bigger so that I could, well, deal with any excess twist or movement, etc. But we've got to the point where that is no longer an issue. Now my question is, do I make the neck the same thickness here as the Fender, or make the neck pocket just a little bit deeper? I'm going to leave the neck thicker. It's still going to feel the same to the player, but a little bit more stability is never a bad shout. More mass is better where necks are concerned. And this is all super glue, and we're going to be flooding it with far more later. So I'm not worried about the blotchiness. I just don't want any build up on anything. Honestly, I'm not actually intentionally procrastinating and trying to avoid the loud job of routing, etc. I just keep on finding other things to do that also need to be done. I'm taking off a minuscule amount of the fretboard, almost nothing, and then you just go in very carefully. Well, there we go. Literally just touch it. I'm not actually squeezing anything. Gravity. Aha! Now, while this is still essentially wet, I'm going to gum up my paper, create fresh sawdust and push it into the fret slots, and the sawdust, the fine dust, is going to solidify. It's going to make the super glue go hard. It's the same sort of thing as if you are filling a nut slot with bicarbonate of soda and super glue, etc. The super glue goes off much faster. The dust acts as an accelerator, but I'm also going to end up with dust that's hopefully a bit closer to the color of the fretboard. I won't set it on fire this time. Oh, maybe I will. Just for fun. Oh, there we go. So now it's dry, the dust is actually acting like I thought it would. So we need to wait for the fine super glue to cure first, or force it to cure with the accelerator and fire optional, and then crack on and apply a second coat. I should probably also do the side dots now. I'm not even going to get to the routing today. It's just not going to happen. What the hell am I on? Yeah, people ask me or say, hey Ben, you should plan ahead a bit more. But in reality, with all of the best, well, with all the will in the world, planning ahead is fine for normal people, for muggles, as it were. The second the camera turns on and I start actually physically making whatever I'm working on, just all of the universes coalesce into this universe, and my brain fires off in multiple different ways, and you find ideas that just don't occur when it's in the abstract, when it's just thought. Basically, I'm daft and can't think ahead enough. But it seems to be working out all right. I'm going to leave that to cure for a minute. I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee. Crow's Coffee. I have my own coffee brand. You should check it out. Like, genuinely, it's awesome stuff. There we go. So second application, it's not quite so stark, but yeah, we're good. I'm going to mark out the side dots in a minute after I've done this bit, and get those installed. Okay, side dots. New Zealand Cowrie, abalone. I mean, it's logical. In fact, it would be a crime if I did anything else. No, I've got to drill the holes first. If I leave the lid off, I'm going to drop it. It's an age-old problem. You've got a bunch of frets. You want to put your inlay bang in between the two, and I'm actually working on an easier way to do this, a physical tool that just tells you what it is without having to take almost backwards, a crimson protractor which has got a 0 in the middle and a line, or one of the crimson rulers actually, which is the same thing. If you are not me and are thus mathematically minded and you can do numbers and stuff, fine, this works. 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, 15, 17, 19, 21. Why did I ever think it was 22? Now, the other thing I'm going to do that is similar to the Fender is I'm actually not going to have my side dots in the center of the fretboard. So between those two spots, I'm going to have them on the joint. Now, on the Acoustasonic that I've got here, they're actually slightly offset, so the center of the fret is, the center of the dot is actually offset towards the front of the fretboard. But that also looks, well, it looks like they don't really care about what they do. We care, damn it. Too much sometimes. How are you? Let me know in the comments. Okay, now double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. On we go. Do a little bit of mental arithmetic. That's my 0. Well, it's not even arithmetic. Basically, 10. That's bang in this, roughly in the center. 17, 16, 16 and a half. Much thinking. Yeah, physical device that does it would be better. Center finder. So that's roughly in the center. That's 15, that's 14 and a bit. You need to move it along. I'm still basically guesstimating. That's the fret tongue, that's the fret tongue. 14, 14 and a fraction. You're thinking it, I'm thinking it. This 0.9 Graph Gear 1000 pencil. Yeah, Graph Gear 1000 pencil, one of my favorite things ever. Is just too big for this. I need a smaller one, or you can just basically sharpen this. Slight angle, make it sharp. Fine, we'll do the sandpaper. And that's now better. There you go. All right, and I just go back and double check everything, making sure that it all looks centered and lines up with the dots on the other side. Dust everywhere. And here we go. At this point, I need an awl. The center line of this is the fretboard. Use the best quality drill bits you possibly can. This is a ultra high, it's a FAMAG center point bit, 2mm. I love these things. They are not cheap, but specifically with things like this, just don't scrimp on it. Even if you have to buy a single drill bit for example, your 2mm side dots, your 6mm front dots, and a 10mm for the tuning keys, etc. Or I suppose 8mm if you're, I think that's the smaller ones. Anyway, I don't use vintage style tuners at the moment. This is a gorgeous Miller's Falls number 1 type 1 from 1880 or so. This was one of my favorite drills of all time, and a number of years ago I dropped it off the tool rack, and that shattered there. And Sam F, who actually is now helping to manage the Crimson Custom Shop and all of this stuff, he suggested I use essentially epoxy to glue it back together again, and it worked. So yeah, there we go. I'm going to drill these side dots with this now functional again after far too long. 100 or so year old handle. This is medium viscosity super glue. That's my phone because I'm not a professional. I don't put it on silent. Yes, I've just put super glue on the tip of that, but it's fine. You'll do. Accelerator on with an old leveling beam. Hell, this is one that I filled with sand as an experiment. That's cool. Oh yes. Hey. Well, there we go. Generally, I have to wait until a lot later in the build to see what this thing's going to look like under finish. But now I'm just being all profligate with the super glue. So, yeah, nice. So this is now perfectly lined up with where the masking tape is on the other side, and everything just lines up. A little bit basically in the middle. We don't want these things to move. Some accelerator. We're good. It's got a little bit of movement there. I think that's going to be about right. So essentially the bearing runs off this, and we'll leave just a fraction of a millimeter in there. We're going to be good. You don't want it too tight. You also don't want it loose. This is the new supremely cool Triton. I call it the Teenage Mutant Ninja Router TMNRTR. It's the only Triton tool that I've ever actually remembered the product code for. In any case, PPE people, isotunes, and Polythia. Oh, actually, Nirvana. So we're going 19 millimeters down, so I've got the same gap as the original. And that'll be fine. We're on these. That's not moving. I could have pre-drilled. I probably should have pre-drilled. But hey, here we are. When somebody's just handed you a router, always double check that everything's actually copacetic, that the blade's in and not going to fall out, etc. So I'm just going to set the depth stop here. We push it down until the cutter is touching the top, and that's where we're at. And then I can choose to go down 5 millimeters or 10 millimeters using that stepped depth stop. Lock, everything's in place. Well, there we go. That's, we're there. I now have a live stream to do, so I'm doing this super quick. Yeah. That all just pulls off. Okay, so this is the issue. There's a little bit of that on there, but initially what I need to do is just carefully carve away the excess. Now once the neck is fit and everything's sorted, I'm going to sand away whatever is left on here that doesn't line up perfectly with the neck itself. Oop, smaller cuts, sharper tool. I need to sharpen all of my chisels. Okay. Well, essentially this isn't the final shape, not by a long shot. There's grain all over the place here. Very unpredictable wood, this. There we go, that's quite high. It's a little bit looser than I'd hoped, but it's also not too loose. So yeah, the wood has compressed even more than I thought it would. The masking tape compressed even more, but remember, we're in the process of building a guitar that is going to be high gloss finished. The entire neck is going to have a coat of lacquer and super glue and bits and pieces like that, and that is going to more than counteract the looseness of this pocket. And in fact, we're in the process of talking to various people about subcontracting the Crimson Guitars kits, because they were so popular that we are no longer making in-house. And that was one of the first questions they asked is, do you want to build these kits for people who are going to spray a finish on, i.e. you want the pockets to be slightly bigger, or do you want them to be for people who are going to be using oil finishes and thin finishes and the like? And well, that counts in this thing. This is the end. This is the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe. In the next one, I'm going to do more stuff. I'm not going to promise anything right now because there's still bits and pieces to do. I've got to bevel the sides, I've got to round things over, I've got to finesse bits and pieces, I've got to carve the neck, drill the tuner holes, etc., etc. And well, yeah, all of that jazz. Let me know what you think in the comments. See you soon. Goodbye. Welcome to Crimson Guitars. Welcome to the carry build. I am taking a guitar and building it into a chunk of 42,000-year-old carry.